Welcome back to Clydesdale Media, the weight loss journey. I am here with Coach Cheryl Nasso, who is going to lead this episode. So I am going to turn it over to her.
I'm just super excited because, we've had a really rough summer, a really rough year in terms of compliance. And as a nutrition coach, when a client starts showing up for themselves and they're doing the work and their check-in forms are coming in and they're actually assessing how they're feeling, it's like, yes, score, it's a win. Like that's the dream client for any nutrition coach is it's not about perfect macros. It's not about did you eat a cookie or are you following the plan? It's literally the communication factor that is so important to keep you going long term. And not only was your check-in form on time, but you actually were able to text me and give me some feedback that you were experiencing in your workouts and stuff like that. We were actually able to troubleshoot some things. So first things first, I just want to say amazing job this week. You were 100% compliant. Like your numbers were a little low on fats, but we actually made some tweaks to that. And I think it's actually going to work to your favor. So I want you to kind of give me a little bit more details on the experience you were having earlier this week in terms of, I know you texted me that you were having some serious cramping and you just like fatigued. Go over that a little bit.
So right from the get-go, I ramped up my intensity at the gym this week and I started cramping almost immediately when I got home. I would get through that, and then overnight, I would wake up cramped up, and have to stretch that out in the middle of the night. And then I think it was like Wednesday afternoon, I started getting really, really lightheaded. But you had upped my carbs for the cramping. And so that kind of fixed itself by like Thursday morning.
Mhm. Yeah. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because initial thought for a lot of people is water electrolytes. And that often is the key to that. But what people don't understand is that carbohydrates are kind of a shuttle for electrolytes. So, and this is where I've worked with some people that do like sweat tests for endurance athletes that a lot of times in these endurance scenarios, people doing like the Gatorade Zeros, they think they're doing the right thing by getting these electrolytes in, but they're not getting the carbohydrates to help to shuttle them. And I did think that with the rate of your weight loss, the intensity going up, that your body was also screaming for carbohydrates. There was two things I thought. One, you weren't fueled enough and your muscles were like seizing up. So, water is glycogen, or, glycogen is water in your muscles. That's where the majority of our water is stored, is in our muscles. So I knew you needed some more carbohydrates. And two, I thought it would help your body with electrolytes more. And people don't realize that electrolytes come from our food. A lot of fruits and vegetables are electrolytes. And that's where a lot of people don't have to add electrolytes in. So I'm glad that did help. And I do have your stuff up on my desktop. Your freaking weight is just, it's going down pretty quickly, which isn't a bad thing. I'm happy with it because I know I'm fueling you, but I was okay bringing the carbohydrates up knowing that we were in a really good place. I know you have a long way to go, and it's really exciting when you see that fast drop in the beginning, but I also know that that's likely going to taper off. And the analogy I always give people is this, is like, if you're about to run a marathon, how you run the first 400 meters matters, but not in the way that people think. So you can't sprint the first 400 meters, expect to keep that pace for the entire time. However, if you go into that with a plan and you know what your pace is going to be, you can start the race at the right pace. So I was okay with slowing things down a little bit. Now, I'm going to ask you now, what was your initial thought when I was like, hey, let's bring your carbs up? What was going through your head?
I was just looking for answers. So I was very accepting of that at the time. And we've done it in the past when I was successful.
Mhm.
So I knew that I could handle it. But feeling lightheaded was very concerning. And
Yeah.
I asked you that question, am I losing weight too fast?
Mhm. Yes. And I love that because a lot of people freak out about carbs because obviously, I get it. You're like, all right, I'm ready to lose weight. Now she's telling me to eat more food. Like that's scary. Like you're like, is this gonna eat all the thoughts that start to go through your head? But you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna do the work. And that's the also number two dream client is somebody who's like not questioning until there's a reason to question, like trusting that like I am here to help and not here to sabotage. Like I would never tell somebody, let's up your carbs so that we can make you stay the same weight. Like I know that there's got to be good biofeedback, because biofeedback is so important. And that's why your check-in form coming in on time was great. I could sense the energy, and I want to keep that energy up, like intensity, too quickly and too much, your body's going to need those carbohydrates. So I was cool with that. So your compliance is really good. The other thing that I want to touch on is the rate of weight loss, and obviously making sure that we keep it in a sustainable way. Is that short term, you can have this fast drop, but you want to actually slow it down a little bit. And I actually talked about this in the Facebook group. If you saw that the other day, we talked about metabolic toggles a little bit, and how, whenever we go to extreme calorie deficit, so you ramped up the intensity and you probably likely dropped calories a lot when we first got back on track. When we have that big stressor, your body senses that. And we want to kind of keep that, they call it the metabolism, the stress barometer, for a reason. We want to kind of keep that in check. We don't want to spend too much time there. So I want to keep you motivated, but I want to keep you in a good place. Anything else this week that you really noticed in terms of nutrition, training, anything else that you noticed? Did you start to feel better with the carbs?
I did so much better. And you got me hooked on this oatmeal for breakfast thing, which has been a game changer in a way that I never thought it was. Like when I was getting ready to go to the gym, I would get very gassy after eating eggs.
Yeah,
And because when I switched to the oatmeal with the fruit and the protein powder, all of a sudden all that went away. So I was in a much better shape to go into the gym and do squats and stuff like that. So that was a great find for me.
I love that. And that's another really big key thing, is that, when it comes to nutrition, is right now we're like in the beginning of it, but we are going to start dialing it in a little bit, because, obviously we all kind of get into our ruts. You're probably in an egg rut for a long time. Is you're going to find what works best for you. I freaking love oatmeal. I have oatmeal like 2 or 3 times a day. I have different ways to flavor it. I love it. You're going to learn to find what foods work really well for you. And right now you're probably not bored of them, but I know that in the past we like kind of rotate things. So how are you feeling right now about like the foods you're making and all that kinds of stuff?
Really good. I'm more adventurous this time around than I was in the past. Um, and just finding creative ways to make it fit in the macros that I wanted to. Um, so yeah, it's actually going really well this time.
I'm going to send you that recipe when we get off of here too, because I have it in my thing. I just forgot to send it to you, the pad thai noodles. Because now you have a little bit more carbs and it's fun. And I think that's the main thing, is just learning how to like rotate things through. Now, what about this weekend? Do you have anything going on this weekend in terms of social stuff, anything like that? Good.
Nope, quiet weekend, which I need.
Yeah.
I did go to a friend's house last night, but we took a salad with us and some chicken. So it was all good.
How did that feel?
My friends are super supportive and
Good.
they understand all that. So it was really, really good that that happened.
Okay. Because I want to talk about it as the last topic for any of the viewers out there watching, because you are a leader. And what you just did was lead the way. And a lot of people in these social situations tend to be the follower. They tend to feel guilty or feel like pressured or shameful for saying, "Oh, I actually want to eat this because everybody else is eating that." And so I always encourage people to be an advocate for your goals. And there's going to be times I'm like, you know what, Scott? You should have a beer and a burger because your friends are having a beer and burger and you really want it. But at the end of the day, like being able to say, you know what, it's just going to my friend's house. I'm just going to bring a salad and, whatever. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's showing that you are also really committed. So we are down, just to kind of give, I'm not going to give full numbers unless you want to, you want to tell the numbers. Where are we at? It is,
So as of today, we're down 6.6 pounds.
hell yeah.
So starting weight 346. This morning it was 339.4. We were down a little bit more, had a little bounce back this morning, but that's okay. I'm feeling better, so that's good.
Yeah. And remind yourself of the last thing is those little bounce backs. And next week I'll be able to show you guys what I'm talking about. But The little ups and downs, they almost look like a little wave. Totally normal. And it's why I have people weigh themselves so frequently, because we're going to see those ups and downs based on hydration, based on the types of food you ate, based on salt. And so, that new low is always what I'm looking at. And I'm always looking at the low and the high and then the numbers in between. And the numbers in the between are typically like your average weight. But the low is always like, all right, that's going to be our new target for our new high. Eventually that's going to be the new high. So I kind of look at that as we trend down. Now, what about from you? Any specific questions or anything like that you want to ask?
So I want to throw this question up from Todd. It's more of a statement than a question. So much trust in this type of adventure, and that is dead on. It has to be full trust. And what was interesting is I went to my CrossFit coach and said, listen, I'm on this adventure. I need to be held accountable. I want you to hold me accountable to being here. And she knows I'm working with you, and she has trust in you to handle all of that stuff.
I love
And
it.
she knows she just has to handle the fitness piece.
I love it. Yeah. I'm just so excited for you, Scott, because I think that 2023, like this time next year, I just want you to have all of this stuff. And Todd, absolutely, you have got to trust the journey. You've got to trust yourself. You've got to trust that what you want is capable. And that's in all things in life, whether it's a weight loss journey, whether it's a fitness journey, whether it's a business you're trying to build, whether it's a media company you're trying to build, whatever. You've got to trust that if you do the work, the results are going to come. And the more you try and focus on the end goal, the less work you're actually able to achieve, because you end up being distracted by all the thoughts. So 100%. So Todd, thank you for putting that out there.
And I said this a little bit last week, and I just want to reiterate it's really important to have a why.
Mm-hmm.
And understand what that why is. And sometimes when I've gone on this journey, I've forced that. Like, I didn't really understand what my full why was. Now I do. Like, I know that all my dreams can come true if I can live the life that I talk about.
Well, and I remember having a conversation with you before we got back on track. And I guess it was probably about a month ago. I said, why? Like, what does this mean to you? What are you missing in your life right now that losing this weight will help you achieve again? And that's so important. Like, it's so important, because what happens is people act out of a place of like what I want to call like pain. They wake up one morning and they're getting ready for a party with their friends, and they go to put on clothes and they're like, these pants don't fit me anymore. Now all of a sudden they want to lose weight so that they can feel good in these pants, but that's not going to last, because the second the party's over, you're back to doing what you were doing. You've got to have a reason why, and you've got to always remind yourself of that why. And that's why you're like, I got to write it down. I got to think about it. If you don't have a why, you're never going to stay committed. It's got to be something deep. So I love that. And I think that we are really figuring that out. And guess what? Your why is going to evolve. You're going to start to think about other things, and that's also okay. That's okay. But as long as you have a deep-seated why, a deeper meaning, you're going to be consistent and compliant. So I like that right now we're in a good place. Things are smooth. I don't want to overthink it.
And Todd responded to you saying, that's some great wisdom. Thanks, coach.
You're so welcome, Todd. Love it. Is he from Canada? Is that what that means? And there's a little flag?
And he's not. He's actually, I think he's on the East Coast. Virginia, maybe.
Because I saw it come up in the bottom, and I was just curious. I think there's like a little flag, but I was just curious.
It's the YouTube flag.
Oh, not a Canadian flag, unless YouTube is Canadian. So
yeah.
But yeah. So
yeah,
Scott,
Virginia.
This week, awesome work. I already made adjustments. I want to keep those numbers there. Did I adjust them in your trainer eyes? Probably not, but I will do that now. Let's up those.
So we're staying with what we were from Wednesday forward.
Yep. And if I need to adjust, I will drop your fat a little bit just because you haven't been hitting it. But if I need to adjust a little bit more, I will. And that's the last thing I'll go over for anybody, and they're working with a macro coach or anything like that, is like, macros are not like as important as understanding the person's preferences and really their preferences. So like as long as Scott's hitting his protein and as long as I know he's getting enough carbohydrates and I know that he's satiated, I can adjust the macros a little bit as long as I'm keeping him in that calorie deficit. And what I'm thinking is right now he needs the carbohydrates. It's going to help him hydrate. It's still really freaking hot out and he's pushing the intensity in the gym. He's not slacking off there. So I'm okay with lowering his fat a little bit and bumping up the carbs. That's totally fine. And that's where if you guys are working with any coaches to make sure that, if you find that, don't be afraid to share that with people. You've got to, communication is key. If he told me, the opposite, Cheryl, I'm freaking stuffed all the time. I can't fit all this food in my belly. I might say, hey, well, let's just try and drop your carbs a little bit and we'll up your fats. And I would be able to play around with that. So I did just change that number for you. Looks like we got a couple of other questions.
Yeah. IDY 2742 said, glad you're putting yourself out there. I need to follow your lead. And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we're doing it. We're documenting this journey all the way to the 2023 CrossFit Games, hoping to lose 100 pounds and really just be as fit as I can possibly be by the 2023 CrossFit Games.
I'm super stoked for that. I love it. So,
and my biggest win for the week, 5 workouts, all games workouts at a scaled version, and 4 of them at the gym, 1 in the garage.
I haven't even tackled any of the games workouts yet. I do want to, but we haven't yet. So congratulations. I asked him today, because today you did the Jackie one, right?
Jackie Pro.
Yeah. I said, did you row a 340? I don't even know if I can pull a 340.
Hell no.
That would be a PR for me. I've never rode I don't think I've ever, I've pulled like in intervals. I've done like a 347. I've actually never tested a 1,000-meter row. I have no idea where I'd be. So I definitely should probably do that at some point. I probably would look like Christy and probably need that minute to recover. And then she just crushed the bar muscle up. So, but yeah. So great job this week, Scott. You did awesome.
Yeah. I cramped up at the 400-meter mark, and had to hang on for dear life. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. Any other last minute questions? Anybody else on live that wants to share anything else?
There's one funny from Todd that he picked up a kettlebell this week, so he'll call that alpaca.
Oh man.
But it's not. It's just not.
Put it over your head? No. That's funny.
Funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for jumping on with us. This is going to be a fun journey. We'll try to get a time nailed down that we hit every week for this.
Absolutely.
Saturdays are crazy for both of us. So we may need to pick a different day, but hang on with us.
We'll just nail that time better. So we'll nail it for you guys.
Yeah. See you next time. Right here on the Clydesdale Media Weight Loss Journey. And sure.